This is not financial advice. I'm not a tax attorney, nor an accountant, or none of that stuff. I am a business owner, but I want you guys to know what types of income you can generate after you decide to go to work. Whether this is right after high school, whether this is right after college, or whether this is now. Maybe you are 13, 14 and you have a great idea and your parents support you and they're all for it. You can start doing stuff today. Like, you can make money as a teenager or as a minor. Obviously, you need your parents' permission. There's a bunch of laws depending on where you are. Again, consult with an attorney. But there is a chance that you can start making money today as a young person. All right? You don't have to wait until you're an adult to make money. That being said, let's talk about the different types of income. The first type of income is simply to be an employee. That is the most common one, but there are pros and cons to every single type of income. Actually, all of these types of income, I've had them all. So I'm probably going to be talking a lot about my experience. Some of the pros of being an employee is that it usually comes with some benefits. Sometimes it comes with like a health insurance benefit or a life insurance benefit. Don't worry, I will make another video about the difference between health insurance and life insurance if you don't know what that is. Sometimes it comes with paid vacation time. You can get bonuses and things like that you normally would not get with any other type of income. The other great thing about it is that your employer withholds your taxes, meaning you still have to file taxes at the end of the year, but you don't have to worry about like, oh my gosh, did I pay enough taxes or whatever, because your employer is actually going to take out taxes or withhold taxes from your check. So if you go to work and let's say that you're making $15 an hour, when you get your paycheck, you're not going to see the equivalent of $15 an hour. You're going to see the equivalent of a little less because some of that money actually went to the IRS because your employer took some of that money to deposit it into your tax pile, I guess, of how much taxes you're supposed to pay throughout the year. Now, at the end of the year, if your employer withheld enough taxes based on your age and your marital status and your amount of dependents and stuff like that, there's a bunch of different qualifications for different people. If your employer withheld enough, you don't have to pay taxes at the end of the year. If your employer withheld more than they needed to, you will get a refund. And if your employer did not withhold enough, you will still have to pay the difference. You will still have to pay taxes at the end of the year. The way that you can change that is that you can ask your employer to withhold more taxes. When you fill out this form called a W-4, you can mark in there extra taxes that can be withheld. Now, obviously that is going to decrease your net income of how much you're going to bring home, but at the end of the year, you don't have to deal with the headache and the hassle of having to pay extra taxes at the end of the year. Now, there are two different types of employees. You can be paid by a salary or you can be paid hourly. What is the difference? The difference is that when you're paid by a salary, sounds like I'm saying celery, like the fruit or the vegetable. The fruit, the vegetable. Salary. So when you're being paid by a salary, what is going to happen is that your employer is going to determine like, okay, you're going to make $25,000 a year and that's it, right? Like that is the fixed amount that you're going to be making, regardless of how many hours you work. You could work 40 hours, you can work 30 hours, you could work 60 hours. You will still get paid the same amount every year. You can get paid weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, whatever, but it's still gonna add up to that amount that you were promised for the entire year. Now, the pros of that is that it is a fixed amount, right? You don't have to worry about like, oh my gosh, how much money am I gonna make this month or this week or whatever. You know exactly how much you're gonna get paid. So that is a huge plus for a lot of people because it brings security. And sometimes you may not even have to work all 40 hours. I used to work for a company where we did computer programming projects, right? And the great thing was that we had a deadline for that project to be completed. So if it took us 20 hours to complete that project, that's all it took for us to complete that deadline. Great, we move on to the next project. But if it needed to take 80 hours in that week for us to complete that project. That's all it took. And my salary was not going to change, regardless of whether I worked 20 hours that week or if I worked 80 hours that week. So it's a huge pro and con because you do get paid a fixed amount, but you could also be working more than a 40-hour normal week. Types of salary employees would be normally managers, right? Usually managers, once you are higher up in the chain, usually you become a salary employee. That's not true for every single company, but that is usually the case. We have like accountants, engineers, marketing professionals, computer programmers like I was. So there's plenty of works out there. Just make sure when you're looking for a job, you ask those questions at your interview, for example. Like, hey, how am I gonna get paid? Is it hourly or is it a salary? Pretty important question to ask. Now, the other type, which is the most common, is hourly, right? However many hours you work per week, that's how much you get paid. So if you get paid, like I was mentioning, $15 per hour, then if you work 40 hours, you get paid, what is that, $600 a week, minus taxes, because you got to take out the taxes from that. So these kind of jobs are usually like fast food, retail, security guards, customer service, warehouse employees, and pretty much anything else under the sun can have a hourly wage, right? So you get paid per hour instead of being paid a salary. The pros are that if you work overtime, let's suppose that you work for a company and you work 50 hours that week, that extra 10 hours that you worked, usually you will get paid an overtime of time and a half. The biggest downside of that, though, is of being paid hourly is that if you don't work, you don't get paid. So God forbid you're sick, which you will at some point. If you get sick, you don't show up for work, you're probably not gonna get paid that day. Obviously, it's gonna depend. Employers are all different. Some employers will have sick days, or some employers will have, vacation days and stuff like that. But if you're working a part-time, for example, chances are you don't get nothing. If you do not show up, you don't get paid. Now, there's a variation of that, and some of these are actually going to overlap within each other. Just because I'm mentioning these 6 different ones doesn't mean that they are like exclusive. The next one that I'm going to talk about is hourly plus tips, right? So our tipped employees. This includes servers, valet parking employees or drivers, where you get paid a certain amount of hourly wage, but you also get tipped. So the pros of that is that there's usually no cap on how many tips you can get, right? If somebody shows up and they loved your service and they give you a $100 tip, you get a $100 tip. It's not like, oh yeah, no, I can only accept $20. Like, no, you get all $100 tips. That is amazing. That is a huge plus of working as a tipped personnel, because you can make as much money as anybody wants to give you. If you're amazing at that job, chances are that you're gonna get tipped very well. Meaning that you will probably make more than if you were an hourly paid. Also, it's usually a much more flexible schedule. A lot of times when people work like servers and stuff like that, it's a lot easier to get off work.
Penny, what did you say? I work at the Cheesecake Factory. I said bye.
I've only been a server. This one I've done for a week, and that was it. You guys, servers, you have my utmost respect, because it's fascinating the amount of stuff that you guys got to keep track of, and being nice when they're treating you like crap a lot of times. You guys have my utmost respect. So that's why you should be a really good tipper, because here's one of the biggest cons is that the hourly wage of tipped personnel is lower than the federal minimum wage amount, like $7.25 or whatever it is right now. It's a lot less than that. In Georgia, it's $2.13. So if you have a server and they're making $2.13 an hour, tip them well. Tip them well. If they did a good job and they deserve a good tip, give them a good tip. Now, the cons also is that probably if there's a slow day, you're probably not going to make a lot of money. So keep that in mind when you're accepting a tip job, because chances are that you may end up working shifts that do not pay that much. And the biggest downside of being a server, and a lot of people don't know this, is that the tips that you make that day have to be split between the boss boy and the host or hostess. They have to get paid as well, and they get paid from your tips. So I'm not sure how that works with like valet or something like that. That I've never done. So I'm not sure how that works or if there's something similar. But if you have that experience and you want to share it, make sure to leave it on the comments so that I learn about it, because that would be awesome. The other type of income could be commissions. A lot of salespeople earn their money by commissions. A lot of times, people who work in MLMs or multi-level marketings, they are not pyramid schemes, guys. They're two separate things. Pyramid schemes are illegal. Multi-level marketing are not. The biggest difference is that multi-level marketing actually offer a product. You do not have to recruit somebody in order for you to make a profit, right? So be wary if you are ever offered a job at a multi-level marketing company, but there's no real product, or what you're selling is some crappy gadget or whatever, and there's no real value that you can give to potential customers, and the only real income that you make is from actually recruiting other people into the company, run, because that would be considered a pyramid scheme. Side note. So multi-level marketing, affiliate marketing, travel agents, insurance agents, real estate agents, those people work on commission. And what does that mean? Commission means that you make a portion or a percent of the sales that you make, right? So if you sell $1,000 worth of stuff and you are a 75% commission rate, guess what? You just made $750. Awesome. That's a huge plus. A plus is that the more you sell, the more you make. Sometimes, more often than not, there's no cap of how much you can make. Oh, and your schedule is super flexible. Now, obviously, the harder you work, the more money you're probably going to make. So the downside to that is that if you do not make any sales, you're not making any money that day. Okay? So you have to be very mindful of that. You have to know, like, if you're a great salesperson, go for it. If you do not have those skills yet, that's probably something that you do not want to use as your primary source of income, because you're probably not going to be able to afford a lot of things. So be mindful of that. The other thing is that because if you don't sell anything, you don't make any money, at least at the very beginning, it's always going to be very inconsistent income. You can make a sale a month versus you can make 3 sales a month. The biggest downside too is that it can be very discouraging, right? Like a lot of people are like, oh, I don't like this crap. I'm not making any money. I quit. So they try it for like a month or 2 and then they quit. So it can be very discouraging. It takes a very specific kind of person to do that kind of job. So if you're a person who's super positive and you're always have a great attitude and you're going to go through it no matter what, and you truly believe in the product, which is the most important part. If you truly believe in the product, that is something that you can probably explore. If you think that you are somebody who is just going to get discouraged very easily, don't even try it, because then you're just going to waste your time. And there's usually a cost up front as well. So sometimes you either, like for a real estate agent, you gotta take your real estate license test, right? Like you have to pay for those classes and then you have to take the test. So make sure you know what is it that you're really getting into. Now, a payday for a real estate agent could be $10,000. I mean, or 20 or 100,000, depending on what they're selling. So it depends. It depends. You have to be very mindful and very clear on what is it that you want to do. And what is it that you know you're capable of doing. So that's important. Or to learn, because you can always learn. Number 4, self-employed. Self-employed are the people who drive your Ubers and Lyfts, for example. Those who do pet sitting, babysitting. They sell their own artwork, like my student who gave me this wonderful earrings. Brand ambassador work, performers, DJs. All those people who work gigs, as what we call them, those are self-employed. Now, in the eyes of the IRS, technically you are a business owner as well, which is number 6. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. But the biggest difference between a self-employed and a business owner is the liability. And I'm going to talk about that when I talk about the business ownership. The biggest pro of being self-employed is that you are your own boss. You don't have a boss. Nobody bosses you around. If you want to work from midnight to 3 a.m., you can do that. If you want to work from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m., you can do that. You can work as little as you want. You can work as much as you want. That is a huge plus. So it's a super flexible schedule. You set your own rates. My student here who made me these wonderful earrings, if he wanted to charge me $20 for the earrings, he could do that. If he wanted to charge me $5, he could do that. right? So it's your choice. Whatever rates you want to set for your product or for your services, you get to do that. So that's pretty cool. Sometimes you get to choose your clients too. You cannot discriminate, obviously. If you're a decent person, you just don't discriminate. But you should obviously never discriminate based on like, gender or sexual preferences or religion or whatever. Just be a nice person. And your business is just gonna bloom because they're gonna know that you can help anybody. You're willing to help anybody and everybody, and just be freaking nice, okay? Just be nice. That's all I'm gonna say. And the coolest thing about being a self-employed, besides everything I just mentioned, is that you get tax deductions. There's a ton of tax deductions that somebody who works a 9-to-5 job or a W-2 job don't get to have. So suppose that you work a 9-to-5 job and you love to do your makeup, right? Just because you wear makeup to go to work doesn't mean you can write it off. You can't. Me as an actress, I can't even do that, even though I only wear makeup for this and for acting, right? But I don't get to do that because it is not necessary for me to do my job, right? I could act or I could do these videos without makeup. So that is not necessary for me to do my job. However, if I was a makeup artist and I need makeup to do my work and actually get clients, well, guess what? That makeup could potentially become a tax write-off, right? Or a tax deduction because it is your costs of doing business. So it's really, really neat. My husband has a YouTube channel, Be Here, right? And it's a travel channel. If you haven't checked it out, check it out on my YouTube profile page. It is on the featured channels. So you'll find it there. Let's suppose I want to travel. I love to travel, right? Let's suppose that because I have a tutoring business and I can work from anywhere. If I go to Hawaii, right? And I tutor in Hawaii, that is not a tax write-off, right? I cannot write that off, right? I cannot say, well, I had to tutor in Hawaii. I'm like, no, but you didn't have to go to Hawaii to tutor, right? So I cannot use that as a tax write-off. However, if my husband, and I go with him, right? If my husband goes to Hawaii and he's making an episode about Hawaii for his YouTube channel, because that is his business and he's also a travel agent. So if you need help with your travel arrangements, just give him a shout. Because he's a travel agent and because he has a YouTube channel that he would feature Hawaii and he makes a video about Hawaii, then that trip can become a tax write-off. And the bonus would be that I could tutor from over there and enjoy Hawaii as well, right? Which is pretty much what we did for my birthday. My birthday was last week, 2 weeks ago. I don't know, 2 weeks ago. And we went to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. But he shot a Be Here episode in South Carolina. He's gonna actually make like 4 episodes out of all the footage that he got from there. So that trip, for him, it becomes a tax write-off. Not because I was there, because I can tutor from anywhere, but for him, that's different. So make sure that if you're ever setting up a business, by the way, make sure that you're very clear with the IRS what kind of business it is that you're making so that they know why is it that you're writing off this stuff, right? Because for me, I could not write off makeup, right? But if I was a makeup artist, I could. Again, this is not tax advice. If you decide to become a self-employed person, make sure you consult with somebody who knows, okay? Make sure you consult with a tax attorney. Make sure you consult with a CPA. And if you're looking for a really, really good one, check out Mark Kohler. He is an amazing, amazing tax attorney and CPA. He has his own channel. He's also featured on my YouTube channel. And he just has so many gems. I've learned so much from him and I've saved so much money on taxes thanks to him. So if you guys want to go into the self-employed / business ownership kind of route, make sure to check him out because he has gold. And his books, you can also get his books. I'm gonna leave a link on my video description as well so you can buy his books. Cons of being self-employed. Inconsistent income again. If you don't make a sale or if you don't have that one service or whatever, you will not make money that day, okay? So make sure that you have very consistent marketing actually, which is one of the cons as well. You have to do a lot of marketing. If you can be the best candle maker in the planet, if nobody knows that you make candles, you will not sell your candles, okay? So make sure that you do a lot of marketing, which to me is a con because that to me that's just super time consuming. I'm hiring somebody else to do it for me because that's just a lot. No work, no pay. That's another downside of it. It's kind of like goes with the inconsistent income. And the biggest downside, and the main reason why a lot of people don't want to become self-employed, is because you have to do your own taxes. Meaning, you will still have to hire somebody to do the taxes for you at the end of the year, but you have to be responsible for your own taxes. You have to keep track of how much is it that you're making and make sure you set money aside to pay for those taxes, because you're not going to have an employer to take those taxes off for you anymore. Okay? So you have to make sure that you're paying those taxes. You can do them quarterly. Basically, what you do is you send to the IRS an approximate of how much you think you're going to end up paying in taxes. Self-employment taxes is 13.5%, I believe, right now. So that's just self-employment. It's not income tax, which is a whole other ordeal. There's brackets and stuff like that. We're not going to talk about that today. But make sure that you do an estimate of how much taxes you're going to be paying so you can pay those quarterly, or every 3 months. And by the end of the year, the IRS is going to make the calculations and say, well, you paid us enough, or you paid us too much, here's a refund, or you didn't pay us enough, so here's how much you actually owe us by the end of the year. So hopefully you'll get a refund. That's always nice. Number 5, residual and or passive income. They're not quite the same thing. I put them together because it is one of those things that you just do once and you keep making money out of it. So as a actress, for example, I get residual money for the jobs that I book that are SAG, right? For example, I was on the TV show MacGyver. If you want to check it out, season 2, episode 21, Wind plus Water. I was being held hostage at a bank. It was awesome. So I got paid that day, or for those 2 days that I was actually on set. But on top of that, every time somebody watches it on whichever platform, I get a residual from that, which is awesome, because I only have to film it once and I still keep getting money, which is the magnificent thing about being an actor. Now, the con is that I would only consider that a supplemental income. It is nice, but it's only supplemental income. Why? Because usually it's not large enough for me to have a living off of just residuals. They're super inconsistent. I don't know when I'm gonna get a residual. It's not like I get them every month. It is all going to depend on how many people watch the show, right? So it depends on so many different aspects that I have zero control over, that I cannot say, well, I'm just gonna live off of residuals, because that's literally, in my case, it's like $50 a year. Yeah, I'll eat a hamburger once, or I don't know. I don't eat burgers. I don't even mean that. That was weird. Other sources of income besides being an actor, or residual incomes, could be like insurance agents, for example. Sometimes when people signed up for an insurance policy, they still receive a residual income of those monthly payments that person makes. That's not always the case. I'm not sure how the insurance world works, and if I am completely wrong, please let me know in the comments. But I have heard that you could get residuals from signing up somebody for a life insurance or something like that. Now, passive income would be something like a rental house, right? Or an Airbnb, VRBO kind of thing, or writing a book or selling a course or something like that. And the biggest difference is that you get money for every single sale. So when you have a house rental, you're making money every month. Every time your tenant pays that rent, you get money. So it's a lot more consistent than just residuals. Or with Airbnb, or when you write a book, every time you sell a book, you get passive income. Yeah, you get a residual from that. Every time you sell a course, you get money for that. So those are great sources of supplemental income, at least at first, until you have built your empire. Let's suppose you want to be a writer. Hey, if you want to be a writer, that's amazing. Get a job and then write on the side, because on your first book, you're probably not going to make, realistically, you're probably not going to make a lot of money. You might be a one-hit wonder and poof, you're going to be the next Harry Potter. That could be the case, but it may not. So be ready for that. If that doesn't happen, at least, hey, you wrote your first book and you get sales from that book. Write another book, and then you get more sales from that book. Eventually, once you have written, I don't know how many books, I don't know what the math is for that, but however many books you have written, and you keep getting residuals from those books, that's when you want to say, okay, now I'm going to quit my job, my 9 to 5 or whatever other side job you want to have, and then live off of that residual income. Same thing with a rental house, right? You're like, oh, I own a rental property. Great. How much are you making? $100 a month. Well, nobody can live on $100 a month. So you want to get another, right? Use that money to reinvest and then get another and get another until you build your own empire. And then that's all you do. You can just do rental properties, or you can just have that one. That's cool. However you want to do it. It's your business, right? So you do whatever you want. But the biggest con is that it is usually a large investment up front, investment on money and or time. So if you're going to buy a rental property, you have to pay for that rental property at first. That's a lot of money. Or if you're going to write a book, you're going to have to spend hours and hours and hours in doing research and writing that book. So it's a large investment up front, but then obviously you get residuals for a long, long, long time. So in my case, it's in perpetuity. So every time for all eternity, when people are watching MacGyver, I will get a residual from every view. So it's amazing. Number 6, being a business owner. I mentioned that the biggest difference between being a business owner and being self-employed is that being a business owner helps with liability. What does that mean? Hopefully you do this with somebody who actually does taxes, or a CPA or an attorney, all right? And you open a business, meaning you actually have a piece of paper that says, this is your EIN. I don't remember what EIN stands for. Something identification. Oh, employer identification number. That's what it is. This is your EIN, and this is the name of your business, right? And this is your LLC or your S Corp or your C Corp or whatever. That business becomes a separate entity from you, okay? Let's suppose that I clean houses, and this person has a $10,000 vase, and I'm cleaning it, and it slips off my hand, an accident, and it shatters. What's gonna happen is, if I don't have a company, if I don't have an actual LLC or a S Corp or whatever, that person can come after my personal stuff, my car, my house, everything that I own, my bank accounts, everything that I own. That person can come after me, if they decide to sue me for the $10,000 vase. But if instead of me being just Isabel cleaning services and I was just there, or it was a friend of a friend, or whatever the situation may be, if this was an actual corporation or a company, right, an LLC or an S Corp or whatever, then the only entity that is responsible for that vase is my company, not me. They can't go after my house. They can't go after my car. They could if they, declare a negligence or whatever. Somebody who knows about law, please let me know in the comments how far off I am. But I know, or what I think I know, that the biggest difference is the liability, right? You want your assets from your business to be from your business and you being separate from your business. Because if, God forbid, you drop a $10,000 vase in somebody's house, you want them to go after your business. And even if your business goes bankrupt, that's okay. You can always open a new one. But you don't want to go bankrupt over a vase, okay? And anyone who is tax attorney or a business attorney kind of thing, please let me know in the comments how exactly does that work. And if you can explain it in a better way, that would be amazing. Now, you can outsource your business, right? Let's suppose that I clean houses. I can hire people to clean houses. I don't have to be physically present there. So I can hire somebody to clean the houses. Obviously, my income will probably be less, but I don't have to be there. So I can always outsource it and provide employment to other people. So that is a huge plus. And again, tax benefits. You could hire your kids. Did you know that you can hire your kids if you own your own business and actually put them on payroll and pay them, and that's a tax write-off for your business? A lot of people don't know that. I was in my late 20s when I learned that, and I actually learned it from Kohler. It's like there are so many benefits of owning a business that you could not do even as self-employed. Biggest cons of it, you probably need a bigger team. You're gonna need an accountant. You're gonna need somebody who handle your payroll. You're gonna need probably a bookkeeper. You're gonna need, there's more pieces to the puzzle. So you wanna be surrounded by people who know what they're doing, because just because you're an amazing chef doesn't mean you're gonna run a restaurant. You wanna surround yourself with managers and people who actually can benefit your business and help them grow, and you help those people grow with your business as well. So you gotta be very, very mindful of that. It can be hard to get used to. Oh my gosh. You have no idea. Yes, I'm going to say this publicly. How many times I've yelled at my husband? No, I'm kidding, not yelled. But yes, how many times I've gotten upset at my husband because he would pay something business related with a personal card. Drives me bananas. But here's the thing. It takes time to get used to it, right? It takes time to say like, wait, is this expense a business or is this expense personal? Because you have to keep them separate. You have to keep them separate. If you're going to go grocery shopping, unless you're going to go grocery shopping for your business meeting specifically, right, with your employees, you cannot use business funds for that because that's a personal expense. But if I'm going to buy a new laptop for my business, right, because I need that laptop to run my business, then that is a business expense. I shouldn't be buying that with my personal credit card or debit card or whatever, because that is property of the business. I could reimburse myself, but that's just a lot of hassle. So make sure you keep those two separate. And that's one of the biggest cons, that it takes time to get used to that. And the biggest one of all of them is that they're more expensive to maintain. You do have to file taxes separately as well. So you have to file taxes for yourself and you have to file taxes for your business. So yes, that costs money. And like in my case, I pay somebody to do our payroll because I'm like, I don't want problems with the IRS. That person takes care of the payroll for ourselves. She takes care of all the tax that we gotta pay. She would just text me like, hey, you owe this much for taxes this month. And I'm like, okay, perfect. Do that. And I try to make sure to have obviously that separate, make sure that when that text comes, hey, you're paying this much, I have that available for her. But I have a person who takes care of that because it's like, that's just a lot to handle. So make sure you shop around and that you get a good team surrounding your business, because that is the key to having a successful business. You want to have the right people. And you gotta work hard and love what you do, which is the most important thing. And all these sorts of income, all these types of income, the main theme in all of them is that they should be what you love doing. Whether you're salaried or whether you are hourly or whether you're self-employed or you work on commission or you have your own business, it doesn't matter. Make sure you always do what you love, because you do what you love, you'll never have to work a day in your life. All right, now let's get the winner of the free 1-hour tutoring session. Thank you to those who entered to win. If you didn't and you want to enter to win for next month, make sure you go to isabelexplains.com/giveaway and let me know what kind of subject you want to talk about, and you'll be in for the next one. Let's see. Jennifer Zellers. Jennifer Zellers is the winner today. Jennifer, I'm going to be emailing you today or tomorrow so you can claim your prize and we can schedule a time for us to meet. I look forward to meeting you. For those of you who watched today, let me know in the comment section any questions you may have or any comments you would like to add, any other sources of income that you're aware of, or what kind of job do you do that you recommend to other teenagers, because there's thousands and thousands and thousands of jobs out there that we are not even aware that they exist. Like one of my favorite ones, my husband and I worked for this company called Mystical Parties, and they are here in Atlanta. So if you ever need a superhero, a princess, a pirate, or anything like that to show up to your party, or you want to sing in Telegram and roast your friend because it's their birthday or their promotion date or graduation anniversary, whatever, they got it. So we work for this company where we actually do characters, right? So we do like superheroes and princesses and stuff like that. And it is a lot of fun and it goes great. So if you're an actor or if you're a performer of some kind and you love to work with kids, give Stephanie a shout. Mystical Parties. I'm going to leave the link on the video description as well, because it is awesome. It's a great job. And I had no clue that something like that existed. So make sure you look into whatever it is that you're into, whatever field of the career that you're into. Make sure you look into all these kinds of jobs, because you never know. And my husband has been working with them for like 5 years and he loves it because he loves kids, right? You have to love kids to like this job. And he's an actor. He loves to perform all these different characters and different accents and all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty amazing. And you just never know what kind of crazy jobs are out there. And Mystical Parties has definitely been a blessing for us. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. Hopefully you will win the 1-hour free tutoring session next month. See you next time. Bye.